Go slow with the bass.
Good evening and welcome back to Iridinod, where I am building an enormous temple in a desperate attempt, well not really desperate, but in an optimistic attempt to get my dwarves to pray more and thus be less unhappy about not having prayed recently. Though from watching, we've still got feverish cats, from watching what one of the previous dwarves did, part of the problem might be that they spend all their time swapping their clothes around. Which is kind of unfortunate. But yes, there was a cat there with a fever. I think we've seen this before. We don't really know why the cats are feverish. Plus, why are there so many dwarves in the hospital? Are they just chatting? Looks like it. Not that they have to wear special praying gear so much as that they spend all their time changing their clothes, and praying appears to be a lower priority than changing your clothes. So it is unfortunate that Dwarf Fortress doesn't yet have veterinary medicine, really, because it looks like quite a few of my cats could do with it. There is a bunch of injured people here, albeit none that appear to actually need any treatment for it. So. Yeah, I suppose lightly bruised is probably not a serious problem. I mean, I've tried to make the clothing situation better by organising the clothes into one place. Excuse me, I'm shuffling myself around so the sound may go weird. But, as in, all of the non-metal clothes are in here. And all metal clothes are in here, i.e. the armour. But that doesn't seem to be quite enough. I suppose I could build a staircase connecting the two rooms. Which, given that we did seem to find people going up and down between them a lot might actually help a bit. Yeah, let's do that. There we go. I mean, the major thing that seems to cause people to become unhappy is simply that they're not members of the fortress and thus can't do half of the things that will make them happier. So where's Licot Thingamy Engineer? Yes, you see, this is not. They're not. He's not a member of the fortress. I mean, like, I don't quite know why he's done. Oh no, we haven't got his stress levels because he's just exploded in stress. Yes. He hasn't been able to practice a craft, but that's because he's come here to study. So, like, I don't know that there's much I can do about that. Feels anxious dwelling upon discussing diseases, so he doesn't even like all of the things that he's been doing here, that he has come here to do, indeed. So, yes, that's not very helpful. But people do appear to be happily praying in my new thing. Do we have? And I'm constructing statues to each of the gods. So we have statues of Ral and Bastan the Regal, and confusingly Mestos Craft-Hailed, because it's really a statue of Dumed, but someone decided that Mestos Craft-Hailed actually needed to be the primary subject, even though that wasn't who I asked for. So it looks like we have someone praying to Minbaz the Lost, so let's make ourselves a statue of Minbaz the Lost as well. So as usual, I make it out of galena, which is the best. Which is the most valuable stone I have, and image related to historical figure Minbaz. So it's slightly awkward that I now can't select up and down, which would make the label at the bottom change to be correct, but let's assume that will actually make me a structure of Minbaz the Lost. Statue, whatever. Right. So we will shortly have a back staircase connecting those two levels, which I think means I want some doors here, which means I'm going to need to make some doors. Yeah, while I did forget to order turkeys, I think we bought everything we want from this thing. Caravan. Yes, that's a good plan, Jacob. Stick floor hatches on these staircases so that they can easily be sealed off. Actually, let's at least make them of the same material. I mean, I assume that my people smoothing the floor everyone is praying to Rakas. Well, that's fine. You've even got a statue of Rakas, broadly speaking. And Zalis. Did we make a statue of Zalis, or should we add Zalis to the collection? Not yet. Image related to a historical figure. Zalis. Feel sure I've looked up Zalis in this list. Let's just check if we've got a statue of Zalis already. Or was Zalis the one where I was confused because we appeared to have something that didn't actually mention Zalis, but on the other hand I didn't remember building it? Yes, okay. I think that's correct. Right. Let's actually request this be a statue of Zalis then, because otherwise embarrassment may ensue. Should really label in here what I've chosen it to be of. Zalis most often takes the form of a female dwarf and is associated with fortresses. Yes, my bed is not quite as comfortable as an armchair for playing Dwarf Fortress in. So, yes. What? Those? Oh no, one of those floor hatches hasn't been installed yet, that's why they don't look the same as one another. I did have some ideas about fortress layout a night or two ago. Wondering whether it would be interesting to make more use of staircases rather than corridors, because like going up and down stairs is as fast as moving horizontally. So a reasonable approach, it occurred to me, might be to have alternately floors that are largely open and just used for connecting things, and floors with actual rooms in with useful stuff in, connected by staircases. Probably not quite alternately, but essentially to run staircases into every room, obviously with quite a lot of floor hatches. I'm not sure if this would be a wise move, but it might save all the bottlenecks in the corridors. Those dashes there. I've forgotten what a dash is. Ah, sceptres. You have 2 separate sceptres in your bedroom. Why? Do you even own it? No, it's just we don't have anywhere else to put sceptres. Kind of wondering why everyone is clustering in a corner of this temple. But it seems to be fairly popular. Ponder isosceles triangles. She felt anxious after discussing prime divisors. Felt anxious after discussing lamination. She felt anxious after discussing mineral remedies. Maybe you are not a natural academic. She felt bitter after getting into an argument. She was worried after being unable to pray to Ava's bronze eye and the silvery. Do we have that first statue built yet? I think we do. Expand. Galena statue of Minbaz the Lost, the deity of fate, depicted as a female dwarf in Galena by Zuglar Sazir Gemist. Put that in there. It was Minbaz the Lost, wasn't it? So we can then... No, we can't ask for that to be smoothed, engraved, because it hasn't been smoothed yet. So now, when that gets engraved, yes, there is still a forgotten bee stuck in a tree. I mean, I have been trying to think whether I can come up with a safe way to get it down. Like, assuming that it is genuinely stuck, we might plausibly be able to send someone down there to cut the tree down. The problem is that as soon as the tree falls, then we have a forgotten beast roaming around, and the poor person who just cut the tree down may not have a fun time of it. So the tree is down in the lowest layer of caverns. Here. And yeah, I don't know of a way to remotely destroy a tree. Basically, trees disintegrate. I mean, trees appear to be strong enough to stop cave-ins, and they disintegrate into logs when you cut them down. Oh, Jacob suggests start a forest fire. I mean, I suspect that burning trees down doesn't cause them to collapse. That I suspect that trees are not themselves flammable. Grass is flammable, very flammable. But maybe trees are flammable too. Sadly, I don't think autumn happens in the caverns, so I don't think the sit on a leaf and wait till autumn will work. If we want this tree down, we actually have to fell it ourselves. Or we have to do something about it ourselves. Let me look up fire on the DF wiki. Gets distracted by a picture of a mega project to build an enormous dam on the front page of the wiki. Fire. I'm sure that people looking up the word fire in the Dwarf Fortress wiki are not a terrible sign or anything. How was that rendered, I wonder? I mean, not that we have an outside to render anyway. Yes, okay, let's assume we can find some fire. Fire will spread and will burn. Right, forest fires are possible. So we could let's keep the water in, obviously. So yes, I think we can. Oops, I left that unpaused while I was reading the wiki, as is so often the way. Ezun Bridgeboard wishes to join us. How unhappy are you with the world at the moment, Ezun Bridgeboard? You are correctly meditating, that's nice. You're kind of dubious about not being able to pray to others bronzei and the silvery. You're a member of the Hollow Bridled Council, which is kind of interesting. I mean, you're kind of unhappy, but I think you'll get better. Go on, you can stay. Unless I've already rejected you. But I'm not letting any more scholars become residents just yet. Okay, what do we have here then? That doesn't seem to be very relevant. And that also doesn't seem to be very relevant. I mean, I should possibly erect these statues somewhere, since they're fairly pointless. Just see, even the unhelpful statues are even less helpful if they're just lying around, rather than set up somewhere. For some reason I feel that we should have some statues at the entrance to the fort on the surface, which sadly we can't make out of ice, so we'll have to make them out of like the ordinary kinds of rock. No, not that kind of rock. I'm assuming that we're not going to have to temporarily demolish those statues. Why are you unhappy and what are you doing? You are vigorously praying to Ava's bronze eye and the silvery. Excellent. That should make you happier. She was interested after learning about the origin of rainfall. I mean, you should be able to make merry down in our dining room, really. Has her praying to Ava's... No, she's stumbling obliviously and praying to Ava's bronze eye and the silvery, apparently. I think my attempts at making statues to Zalis are proving to be oh dear, we've actually run out of diorite. Statues to Zalis are not generally turning out very well, are they? Like at all. So that's just going through our list of statues and seeing what we have available. That's very boring. That's someone writing something somewhere else. That's an event that happened in... Oh, my nose. Try not to sneeze, Ben. Bad idea to sneeze on the stream, probably. Or on the screen. Okay, so that's an event that happened in Rhythmgates. That one should definitely be constructed, be somewhere where it's someone making a trinket in Rhythmgates. It should obviously be out at the front of the fortress. Mostly I'm just trying to do this so that I get them out of my... I think we should have one of the events that... well, I have a convenient mute button, to be fair. It's here. See? I think I've left that bracket on. Yes, good. Oh, maybe I'm too loud. Anyway, yes. I'll move the laptop slightly further away from me and make weird noises in the process. Yes, let's put this one in because it's a nose tools event. Right. Here. Yes, I think I misadjusted this control last time, so let's turn myself down a bit. There. That should be better. I think that those two squares there may not be reachable anymore for smoothing because I've parked statues in front of them. Which might also mean that the ones I wanted to engrave behind the statues can't be engraved because there are statues in front of them. Stoats. Let us temporarily deconstruct the statues and we'll put them back in a moment. Actually, let's deconstruct the altars as well and go for a slightly different layout. And mark those two squares as higher priorities for smoothing. Actually, also everything that I'm planning to build on top of. Anywhere where I might want to put a statue. No, don't take the statues away! Stoats. So one of the ones I wanted was Bracas. Another one was Ral. Why are those different colours? I don't want to occupy too much of this fortress, of this temple, because it does need a kind of enough space for a dance floor in the middle. Engraved on the image wall is an image of Ral, the deity of jewels, depicted as a female dwarf by Besmar Okangreason. Someone who's not very good at engraving things, but still. What? In what way is that related to Bracas? Eh? fast smooth. No. Oh well. And that was Dumed anyway, that I've got a statue of, not Rakas. Hey, there's some high priority engraving over there. How about you go and do it? Right. Sorry, I'm just looking at the how to start a fire section of the wiki. May not be entirely helpful. Okay, no, that is technically a picture of Ava's Bronze Eye and the Silvery. A finely designed image of Ava's Gorgewad the Dwarf by Neil Exongingiz. Ava's Gorgewad is screaming. The artwork relates to the moment when Ava's Bronze Eye and the Silvery cursed the dwarf vampire Ava's Gorgewad to prowl the night in search of blood in drill standard in the early winter of 155. Yeah, okay, that's definitely in a sense related to Ava's Bronze Eye and the Silvery. Let's have a statue of Ava's Bronze Eye and the Silvery, please. And similarly, here we have a well-designed image of Mestos Craft-tailed and Doomed. Mestos Craft-tailed is embracing Doomed. Yes, indeed, a statue of Ava's Bronze Eye and the Silvery in lead ore, and it to be fair is also an ore of silver. Wrong button. X. No, I didn't mean return, I meant V to check what that one was. I am paying attention, really. Appears to be the only thing we know about Doomed is that Mesthos Crafttail believed strongly in Doomed in the early autumn of 142. Oh, I meant the... Actually, let's set up that altar. Oops, in front of the engraving that doesn't appear to usefully relate to a god. Poor stumbling oblivious engineer. Oops, yes, that's a low priority engraving, that's why no one's doing it. Well, it'll get done eventually. Sana, not the member of Twice. I'm sure some people do pray to her, but anyway, so yes. Ooh, and shed him the turquoise shaft of hearts, okay. Deity of the squashed confederations, most often takes the form of a female human and is associated with happiness. What? That wasn't what I meant. Deity of the Rock of Fortune, associated with caverns and earth. I shall try to remember to close the back doors, yes. Okay, our drowsy engraver has just fallen asleep while engraving. That's not really a useful engraving relating to a god now, is it? My attempts at religious engravings are not doing very well. Plus my engraver's fallen asleep. That one should obviously go in the library. That's just someone settling in Rhythmgates, so let's stick that one down here. That's a god and hence goes in the temple. That's a god and hence goes in the temple. Yes, a statue relating to the authoring of a book should go in the library. So Bast-san the Regal and Minbaz the Lost both need engravings, I think. Maybe I should just wait for our engraving crew to actually finish their jobs. Don't know what's going on here. That's also not usefully an thing depicting a god. Yes, drinking with dwarves is famously dangerous. At least it used. I think this may have been improved a little bit in more recent versions of Dwarf Fortress, but it did used to be the case that, in particular, if you had a tavern and non-dwarves turned up there, and you had like a working tavern keeper, the tavern keeper would tend to ply people with drinks until long after the point at which it was safe to do so. And so, yes, not only did your cats tend to die of alcohol poisoning, often your visitors would as well. No, I'm not accepting residency requests because we have enough unhappy people already. Stonecrafter Guild has been established. Right, so what do we have there then? Right, that is solidly an image of Lorsith. So if we have a statue of Lorsith, we can just stick it in front of that. Though actually I'm now thinking Jacob may be right. Maybe I wonder if dwarves can actually see the engraving if there's a statue in front of it. Maybe I need to put the statues further in so that the dwarves can admire the engraving and the statue. Okay. I mean, obviously this isn't a problem in the zoo, because in the zoo the thing in front is not a statue. It's a thing you can actually you can stand on if you have to, or rather share a square with. So we don't currently have a statue of Lorsith. Let's see if we can make one. I don't know why there's that interstitial screen there. It worries me. So we now have statues either side of the main entrance to the fortress in order to impress the visitors. But it's still possible to get into the fortress with a caravan, which is kind of important. I think we haven't got a statue of Avers Bronze Iron the Silvery yet either, have we? So let's schedule one of those. The Guild of Arenas now has many members in Rhythmgates and now requires a guild hall. Yes, okay. That's nice. I wonder what that mandate was. Hope it wasn't anything I needed to do anything about. I mean, we've got some spare rooms which are currently temples, but we could turn them into guild halls since we're trying to. I think we're trying to produce a single unified temple. Partly, I think, because having a unified temple means once someone has started praying, they can keep on doing so. It's a stoneworker guild hall, wasn't it? Maybe it wasn't. Because surely we should get an entry here that says the stone crafter. Lots of people seem to have large numbers of gods they want to pray to. So my hope is that if they find themselves in a temple, they'll be more prone to praying. And they will find themselves in a temple if they've prayed to someone else. So that's now part of the silkiness of rings instead. I've agreed to build a guild hall, which means I should stick some of my surplus statues in there then. Okay, I don't have any more surplus statues yet. Right. So, that one is an image of Lorsith. I'm going to try putting it there instead, though this may be a mistake. I don't know. Exceptionally designed image of Lorsith, deity of thraldom, depicted as a female dwarf in Galena. So that one is not a useful one in that it doesn't really depict a... That one does depict Ava's bronze eye and the silvery. Did we get a statue of Ava's bronze eye and the silvery? Not yet, no. Okay, well let's engrave a wall to Batstan the Regal. Bastsan the Regal is a deity of the Confederations of Whiskey, most often takes the form of a female dwarf, associated with water and duty. I've forgotten what it was that I wanted to do here. Mimbaz the Lost. Let's see if that one ends up being... Oops, I'm getting confused here again. I think I just accidentally tried to construct. Got caps lock turned on, that's why I'm getting confused. Yeah, I've accidentally constructed two very similar statues relating to Ava's bronzite and the silvery, and that was the wrong location to build it in anyway. Yes, the pictures show the carvings on the wall. You can see quite a lot of them down here where we've carved images of all of the different forgotten beasts that we have, well, not quite forgotten yet. That wasn't what I meant. So I want to temporarily forbid those two statues so that they don't get hauled away to the and then to go, that's a carving of Doomed, so we should see if we have an actual statue of Doomed again. Apparently not. Maybe it still needs to be put down. What have we got here then? That's definitely an image of Minbaz the Lost, so we can stick our definitely a statue of Minbaz the Lost next to it. Did actually have just depicted as a female dwarf, right? This here is a thing of Batstan the Regal, depicted as a female human by Neil Thingy. Do we have a statue of Batstan the Regal? We do. Apparently no good stories about Batstan the Regal though. I'm slightly suspicious of anyone coming into the to here and praying to and meditating on murder. West Ways is a deity associated of the state of echoes. The West Ways most often takes the form of a female dwarf and is associated with travellers. People are still. I think those two are hauling their statues in the correct direction. Is there a sensible way to engrave or to remove a wall engraving? I don't think there is. No suggestions that there's a way to remove a wall engraving, sadly. Yes, indeed. We're generally not in favour of allowing people to immigrate if they're unhappy. I mean, strictly, we don't mind them being immigrants. What we don't like is them being visiting scholars. Like, proper immigrants are fine because they stay, they will follow instructions, they can be given jobs that will cheer them up. The problem is the visiting scholars who can't be given jobs and just insist on scholaring, even if this makes them seriously unhappy. Yawn. Right, so now we have here an engraving the West Ways, a deity of travellers. We can make a statue of the West Ways, or at least in some way representing the West Ways. Deity of the Palisade of Gulfs most often takes the form of a male dwarf and is associated with beauty. Well, that's looking quite good there. Uneasy after being able to pray to Zas the Turquoise, but then after that, enraptured remembering communing with Zas the Turquoise, and then enraptured after communing with Zas the Turquoise, and is currently communing with Zas the Turquoise, and thus will presumably be enraptured after that as well. May thus not become too unhappy. Meanwhile, I suppose we could engrave a picture of Zas the Turquoise. Oh, engraved on the wall is an image of Nil Cloistercurls the Dwarf by Doran thing. Nil Cloistercurls is screaming. It relates to the moment when Salia cursed the dwarf vampire Nil Cloistercurls to prowl the night in search of blood, in sandal whips in the early summer of 126. Right, we got a statue of Salia yet? No, we've got a statue of the West Ways though. Not a very interesting statue, but nonetheless. Engraved on the wall is an image of Zas the Turquoise, the deity of volcanoes and mountains, pictured as a female dwarf by Doran Okoshakrul. So I suppose we want a statue to go with that as well. Okay, what's that? Ah, the moment when Salia cursed a dwarf to prowl the night in search of blood. What? Dwarf wear monitor ? Gift boards. But I thought prowl the night in search of blood was a vampire thing. Oh well. Both a vampire and a wear monitor. I think one of them replaces the other eventually. Aberley. I don't think we've ever heard of Aberley before. A deity of the Empire of Dawning, most often takes the form of a female human and is associated with metals. We're certainly getting quite a few people praying here to quite a lot of gods. I mean, like, it's nicely centrally positioned. And I think the being able to chain things together is helping. Here's still someone who's a bit unable to pray for Zalis for too long. And, like, it should also make them generally happy because it's going to be so full of art. And, like, here, this engraver just finished engraving something and immediately started meditating, which is probably good. And my main worry is that I might not have made this temple big enough. And, like, we also have this slight weirdness that occasionally engravings are not of what we wanted them to be, but still. Yeah, I mean, I could expand a bit. I could, in particular, it would be fairly easy to demolish those 2 bedrooms at the entrance. Because, yes, this is the kind of dwarf who's a real nuisance. Worshipper of, like, 7 or 8 gods. Hopefully she'll be able to pray to all of them. Perfectly ordinary statue of the turquoise. Perfect, a well-designed image of Abley. Right. So this has the problem that we don't actually have. We do have plenty of diorite. What are you blithering about? And we don't seem to have much grundle bone. I apparently have a widescreen dance floor, having a 16 by 9 area in the centre of the temple. Right, so that's the Knights of Dusk. Didn't I try to engrave something about Sana? Possibly, but it doesn't seem to have worked. Yes, indeed. I should... well, one question actually is how big can I make this? The maximum size of an activity zone is 31 by 31. So currently this is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 wide, hence the 16 by 9. So I can actually make this temple twice as wide. So at least almost twice as wide, and still have it all be one temple. So there is absolutely no danger that it's going to get too big. I don't think you can have... Yes, you... while I've done this in past games, a room designation, and that includes an activity zone, only ever covers one floor. Strictly, I think a temple can have multiple activity zones in it. But I've never attempted that. I did briefly, I think, but yeah, in general, I don't know. Well, yeah, that probably increases its value because the value is assigned to the entire temple, isn't it? Anyway, so I think I don't want to make the dance floor much smaller, so I do want to mine this out at least a little bit. Diziot suggests having engraved pillars in the middle in addition to statues. I quite like that idea, yes. I mean, not just because we're constructing some fairly standard Western church architecture out of it. We've got a couple of altars, but like I've got this weird thing where the where I've just stuck them in the in front of those bits of engraving that are not of gods for some reason. Maybe I should try to like construct a proper rood screen and oh yes, that would be kind of appropriate, wouldn't it? And a the chancel. Go on, this is turning into more and more of a church, and will involve removing that not very good diorite wall. I think it might be a bit of a challenge to engrave words on things. Yes, it probably can be done. The Yous are humans, so human gods or gods of humans are often symbolically shown, depicted in art as human rather than dwarven. Yes, we do only get one engraving on each pillar. But like mostly here, I'm just constructing aisles at the side of my church because that seems appropriate. There's Ushir grave stricken got to then. Actually, of course, I should remember when someone joins us as a citizen to give them more jobs. Shouldn't I? Where is Ushrir? Ushrir grave stricken. Fikodabod. Yes, you can join us. Yes, we can totally engrave the floor as well. I mean, I really want the ability to just say, "Oh, do something religious," but I don't really care what the religion is. I don't think that's something I can do. So obviously I need an art director, but that is not actually available. So, the ochre. Most often takes the form of a fire imp. Wow. No more residents for now, please. Right, I'm now setting up the altars in the chancel. Obviously where they should be. We need a new engraving of Raoul as well. I've currently got things set so that the dwarves will not improve furniture in general, as in there are no jobs set up for improving furniture, so statues will not in general get additional spikes. I'm now slightly regretting not... Lolo. deity associated with inspiration and art, which seems kind of appropriate. Oh, we're a bit short of booze. What's going on with the booze situation then? Have we run out of brewers again? Here, you learn brewing when you're next awake. I seem to have a slight prioritisation problem in that all the engraving jobs are the same priority as the smoothing jobs and done by the same people. But I'm too lazy to fix the problem. So, about this attempt at a forest fire, how will we achieve that? Problem is, that's quite a difficult thing to do safely as well. So I suppose we could kind of have a thing that launches a minecart somewhere that ejects magma onto the bottom of the tree we want to demolish. And we can do that remotely. I mean, I'm assuming here that the that the Forgotten Beast won't descend from the tree as soon as we send someone over there, but like I don't think they can. So, well, I mean, we don't want to coax it down. We just want it not to be in the tree anymore. So the idea is, Jacob suggested that maybe we could burn the tree. If we send someone there to cut down the tree, the problem is the tree. The moment they cut the tree down, there's a Forgotten Beast on their head, and that's kind of painful. So we were wondering if there was any remotely controlled way to demolish a tree. And cave-ins don't work on trees, but Jacob suggested maybe a forest fire would do the job. And so, yes, we're now going, well, maybe that would be feasible. I suppose if we can make the minecart go fast enough, it doesn't actually need tracks running all the way up to the tree. Yes, there is the slight problem that we would burn down the entire level 3 cavern forest. So I'm wondering if we can, like, cut a fire break so that we don't do all of that. And only burn down a small part of the layer 3 cavern forest. So maybe the first thing to do is to see how if we can sensibly sort out a fire break. Well, my plan, I think it'll be simpler just to cut the trees down. So I think my plan is unlock that floor hatch, because it doesn't seem to cause the Forgotten Beast to move. Let's just watch the Forgotten Beast for a bit to make sure that's still true. Oh. Dr. Swirly has the suggestion of tunnelling under the tree, which does work in general, but I think a trap avoiding Forgotten Beast will still be trap avoiding, and so we would need to put webs on the cage trap, and we can't really do that without an awful lot of faff. So yeah, yes. It's our old friend Locum Shuduk Logem. Who I think is a permanent resident, but I could be wrong. And her problems are all ones that we can't really fix. Apart from that she hasn't prayed to Ava's Bronze Iron. Yes, well, apparently it's traumatic injuries are currently the subject of the day in the library. And we have a tantruming chemist. Still, we've got more booze now because we've actually got someone doing some brewing. That's good. Stop fighting with the cats. I think chemistry in Dwarf Fortress so far is purely theoretical. And like, in general, people throwing tantrums know not to actually do so in a fatal manner. At least not deliberately fatal. Right, we're getting some of our engravings done now, so see what we have here. Superiorly designed image of Lolor, the deity of inspiration and art. So let's make a statue of Lolor then. Where is Turok crewmaster then? I mean, I assume they're in the list of scholars. Oh no, they're not quite, they're an engineer. So I denied you residency, but now you're applying for citizenship anyway. Oh, go on. Now that we've got this temple built, we should actually expanded rather. We should actually make it properly bigger. So remove that meeting zone and oh, I have to be a bit careful because that way it can't actually get round the corner. There we... No, that's not quite big enough either. Can't quite make it reach all of the walls in flow mode. Maybe I can do it better in... What's floor flow then? Oh, that just means it doesn't include the walls, which is obviously silly. We can just mark out the temple right from there to there and then remove bits of it. That and say this is a meeting area and okay, why can't I make there we are, assign location. It's the natural impunity, wasn't it? Yes. Yes, it's something like a bell tower. It feels to me perfectly reasonable that there's a staircase in the corner of the temple. We have someone praying to Feeble, the King of Weevils. Excellent. Strictly, you can't currently go down those stairs to magma. So let's just check that that Forgotten Beast is still where it's meant to be. Or still where it's not meant to be, but where we think it's stuck. Yes, good. So now let's start work on the fire break. I mean, really, let's just try cutting those trees and see if we can do those safely. Assuming like we have any woodcutters. Possible we don't. here goes someone. The Guild of Books has many members. You want a Craftsdwarf guild, do you? Okay. I'm going to do that just by converting a temple, you know. Oh, and I need to properly install more statues in that temple I've already converted, don't I? So I agreed for that to be a guild hall, and it's nowhere near being a guild hall at the moment. Well, let's just do some generic floor engraving in there when we get a chance. Let's just make a couple of statues of nothing in particular. Right, and here we have an image of the ochre, the deity of volcanoes of earth, depicted as a fire imp. So we should probably make a statue of that, even if we're not going to install it immediately. The question marks, I don't understand one of them. Are they both occasions when a god cursed someone? Yes, they appear to be occasions when gods curse people. Yes, the eye is the fire imp. So I've made a couple of statues to stick in that guild hall. Oh, one of them's a statue of a god. Maybe we should save that for the temple and make another random statue. Oops, wrong button. Cedos the Spicy. Okay. No, that wasn't the right location. I want to leave a gap. Not that it matters so much there, I suppose, but still. Actually, yes, maybe it would be better to have them against the pillars, because you can always walk up to the pillar from another side. Now that's no better, is it? Let's be symmetric and elegant and do things the same way everywhere. Being a god associated with both thunder and silence seems kind of strange. Right, so we've successfully removed the two trees to the north of there. That's quite a lot of trees to cut, but still. Right, so the natural impunity is now officially a temple complex because it's so impressive. So I think we want we found another god that someone's praying to, haven't we? Somewhere around here. Thought it was Logan Mind Mint. So our woodcutters don't seem to be scared of this forgotten beast. Those two are not the tree it's currently in. So I'm actually going to have them fell all of the trees nearby and see if that causes us any trouble. That will take them a little while. Someone is doing something with the back door. Aha, right, someone has actually been interrupted by the forgotten beast. So let's not attempt to fell those two trees because I think they're probably too close. We managed to injure the forgotten beast by dropping a tree on it. And yes, it does appear to spit at us even when we're some distance away. I can't tell you to do anything because you're a visitor. Right, we've managed to cause non-trivial injury to this feathered mite. Snooze. So we seem still to have this problem that we occasionally get engravings relating to things being written rather than directly to the gods we were after. Yes, it does appear to be standard to depict commonest hoary seasons as a female dingo. Right, so I think that's all of the oh, we can fix your craft problem. All of the statues that I've had carved installed. Immediately forgotten who it was who did that. Let's say Adir something, but Adil, that's the one. Right, I think it is time for snoozings because things are going all right. No one is in dreadful danger of death, and we haven't started doing anything really dangerous with this Forgotten Beast yet. Well, I'm sure burning down the forest to get at the Forgotten Beast will bring some entertainment. Let's just say try to avoid going close to the Forgotten Beast. See if that helps with to root people away from it if possible. Right, so yes, I think yes, kind of. Jacob says, I mean, it's traditional for firebods to get creatures out of trees, which is true, though not usually by burning the tree down. Well, that woodcutter appears not to be getting scared by the Forgotten Beast, so that's good. Also to be quite efficient at woodcutting. Oh. So, yes, that will do for now. Let us pause there so that we can remember that we're trying to do something really stupid at this layer. And we will be back probably on Friday. So, good night.